Hello and welcome to my new video. So in this video, let's see what is privilege escalation. Hope you guys know what is privilege escalation is since you are searching for this course. But if you don't know what is privilege escalation is, let me give you an overview for it. First, let me explain what is the meaning for privilege. I think if you understand the meaning for privilege, you can easily understand what is privilege escalation is. So let's start. In each Linux operating system, there are some user account on it, right? For example, let's take Jack, John and Jim. Now each user has specific permission for it. For example, Jack has read permission, John has write permission, Jim has read permission and the write permission. Now let's see what are they. Jack has read permission, which means Jack can read the file or view the content of that file. But he cannot modify or make changes to that file because he does not have write permission. Next, John has write permission, which means he can modify or make changes to that file since he have write permission. Next, Jim has read and the write permission, so he can read the file or modify the file content. So the meaning for privilege is simply a set of permission, so you can think privilege as a permissions. But what we are seeing right now, these are a normal user account. We can only do specific tasks by using this account, but there is also another account in Linux who is the godfather for this normal user, which is root. In Linux, root user is the only user who has highest permission on the system or highest privilege on that system, which means root user can read, write and execute the file. Basically, root user can do anything on that system. Even he can destroy the whole operating system. Now let's think from an attacker perspective. So once an attacker hack into a system and gain access, he could not directly get a root access, right? Sometimes he may get root access directly, but this is rare cases. Mostly he or you get an unprivileged account, which is a normal user account. You will encounter this while doing CTF, because while we doing CTF, once you have exploited, you will get a normal user shell. Then you need to exploit a privilege to get the root flag. But this is not good for a hacker. You may think in real time why an attacker hack into a system. For example, stealing data or modify the data or executing something malicious. It could be anything. But these cannot be achieved by a normal user account. He need to get access to a root account. Now here where Linux privilege escalation comes in play. With the help of privilege escalation, we are going to escalate our privilege from a normal user to a root user with the help of some sort of vulnerability or misconfigurations on that system. So that's what privilege escalation is all about. Now you know the reason for doing privilege escalation, basically to get a higher permission on that system, which is the root account, so that we can do anything on that system. So hope you guys understand what is privilege escalation is and what is the reason for doing that. So still, if you have any doubt, post it in Q&A session and we will respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to a new section. In this section, we are going to see how to set up our lab. It's pretty simple. You don't need much more resources on your computer to set up this lab. So for accessing our lab, we are going to use a platform called TryHackMe. So let me show you. So this is a TryHackMe official website. If you don't know what is TryHackMe is one of the leading CTF platform where you can do CTF or learn ethical hacking stuff from this website. There is also alternative for this, which is Hack the Box. But in this course, we are going to see only TryHackMe. So before accessing our lab, we need to create an account first. Creating an account is completely free and simple. Just click on join now and enter your username, email and password. Click on sign up. It's as simple as that. So first let me quickly log into my account. So once you have successfully created an account and successfully logged in, you cannot directly access the lab. So the reason for that is first you need to connect to TryHackMe VPN. So in next video, we are going to see what is TryHackMe VPN and how to get connected to their VPN. So I'll catch you in my next video. Bye. So before we move on to the next video, I want to show you one thing which is very important, which is connecting to TryHackMe network. So for that I have created this image for explaining you what's the reason for that. So you can imagine this as my computer which I am currently using for recording this video, and it's connected to a network which is my network. And this is TryHackMe network, and these are the servers which are connected to this network. So if I want to access these servers, first I need to connect to this network. So without connecting to this network, the connection is not possible, which means I cannot access these servers. So that's the reason for that. And another reason for that is these servers are not available for public user. So if you want to access these servers, first thing is you need to connect to this network. So without connecting to this network, the connection is not possible. We are going to achieve this with the help of VPN. So we are going to use a VPN method to connect to this network. So let's see how we can do that. So for that, TryHackMe have created an awesome room for this. The name of the room is OpenVPN. So in this room, they have given you the detailed steps for almost all operating system. For example, if you are using Windows, just click on it and follow these steps and get connected. And also for Mac OS. But if you are using Linux, I will show you how you can do that. So first we need to install a tool called OpenVPN. So let's install it quickly. So just copy this command, open up your terminal and paste the command, hit enter. So as you can see, I have already installed this tool, but if you have not installed this tool, it could take some time. So wait and install. So the next step is to download our configuration file. So first go to their website. So you can click here or click on your profile and click on access. So from here you can click on this download button and save file. So the next step is to navigate to the directory. So for me it's stored in downloads directory. So let me move on to my downloads directory. ls. So as you can see the file right here, but your file name might be different, but the actual concept is once you download the file, you will get an OVPN extension file. So the next step is to connecting. So let's see. So enter the following command, which is sudo openvpn. So openvpn is the tool that we are going to use, and specify the file. Hit enter. So once you see this message, sequence completed, which means you have successfully connected to their network. But if you don't see this message, which means you have not yet connected to their network, so wait for a minute. If the problem is still persistent, just press Ctrl C and try to rerun the command. Or if the problem is still persistent, just go to the website and go to this link and try to change the server. Now currently it's selected this server, so try to change the server and re-download the configuration file and try to rerun the command. But for me now it's connected successfully. So this is how you can connect to TryHackMe network. Now that we know what is TryHackMe is and how to get connected to TryHackMe VPN, in this video we are going to see how to access our lab. So for this course, I have created a room on TryHackMe. The name of the room is Mastering Linux Privilege. This is a private room, not a public room. So if you want to join in this room, click on your profile, go to My Room, scroll down below. You can see the input box below where you can enter the room code. So I will provide you the room code in the resources file, so you can copy it from there. So let me paste the code. So next click on Enter Room. And now you will be able to join the room. Now let's see how to access the lab. So before that, make sure you have successfully connected to TryHackMe VPN. If you don't know how to do this, please refer to previous video. So once all done, click on Start Machine and wait for a minute. You will get an IP address. Now let's copy the IP address. Open up your new terminal. Type SSH user at and paste the IP. If you see this message, no problem. Just add this line to your command. So let me copy this and just add this line. Hit enter. Type S and the password is password321. And now we have successfully logged into our machine. In this section, we are going to see about password on file, or you can call it as password hunting. So what does that mean? Basically, we are going to search for password because some users have bad habit of storing their password in a txt file or somewhere on that machine. Even Linux based operating system and application store clear text or encoded credentials in a file once we got access to our target before taking some complex action to gain root access. It's the best idea to first search for password, so who knows, you may get some sensitive credentials, so using that you can simply log in as root. So in next video we are going to see how to hunt for passwords. Now let's see how to search for password. Before that, I want to show you one thing. If you go to our tryhackme room, you can see there are two server 1 and server 2. In previous section we used server 1. So for this section we are going to use server 2. If you expand this, you can see the start button right here. Click on start machine and you get the IP. Copy this and log in via SSH. So make sure you are using server 2 for this section. Now move on to our topic. So I will show you some of the methodology to hunt for password. So whenever you log into a Linux system, there is a file called .bash history. It's a hidden file stored in the home directory. So first move on to the home directory and type ls-la, and here is the file. Now let's read the content of that file. Type cat.bash history. So this file contains the command that previously executed by the user. So you can see the users execute whoami, ifconfig, lscd. So these are normal commands. You can see something looks interesting. Someone trying to log in using MySQL with the username root and the password 123. The problem is user who execute this command forget to leave the space between -u and the -p parameter so that the command get logged in this file. So using this we can now log in as root. Now let's try. So if I type su root and it's asking for the password, and the password is password123, and we now log in as root. If I type who am I, we can see we are root. And for the confirmation, let's find the flag.txt. Here it is. So cat flag.txt, and we have successfully exploited the shell. So we don't do anything complicated yet. We simply search for password in the history file and we got the credentials. Using that we simply log in as root. So that's what we have done. Let me clear my screen. Let me go back to the normal shell, exit, and now we are the normal user. Now let's see another way to hunt for password. If I type ls, you can see there is a file called myvpn.ovpn. So the .ovpn extension indicates that this is a OpenVPN file like the one we previously used for connecting to tryhackme VPN. Now let's see the content of that file. Type cat myvpn.ovpn, hit enter. You can see this is a normal OpenVPN file, but if you take a look at this line, it's authenticating users' credentials in auth.txt file which stored in the OpenVPN folder. If this file is not configured with the correct permission, then we can able to read this file. Let's see if we can read the file. So type cat etc/openvpn and auth.txt, and we managed to read the file and we got the credentials. Using this we can now log in as root. So not only for OVPN, if you find any file that look interesting, simply open the file and see its content. You may get some sensitive credentials. Next, I will share you some of the commands that you can use for searching password. So simply copy this command and paste it in your terminal. So let me try the first one. So this command grabs the output that contains the name password, but you need to manually figure out if you got any credential right here. So this will just basically give you the output, but you need to manually analyze it. So there are many commands, so you can use all of this. I will share this in the resources, you can check it out. You can also use find command to search for password. So the find command is a great tool. If I type find --help, you can see what are the options that you can use with find, but we can simply run this by typing the command find. Now you need to specify the path to search for file. You can specify any path that you want, so I'm going to simply type slash. So if you just type slash, this will search for file in the entire directory. Next -name, then we need to specify the name of the file. So let me search for something like password.txt. So that's what most people like to store. And we are going to pass this into dev/null so that we don't see any error message. So hit enter. And we can see there is no file named as password.txt. Let's see pass.txt, which is the short form. Still there is no file. So what about hidden files? So let's see if there is any hidden file named as pass.txt. So the dot indicates it's a hidden file in Linux. So hit enter. And we got the result. It's saying that there is a file named as pass.txt in OpenVPN folder. Let's see it. So cd/etc OpenVPN. Enter. If I type ls, so you can see there is a auth.txt file which we saw previously. But if I type ls-la, you can see the hidden file, the .pass.txt. Let's read the file. And we got the credentials. So this is how you manually need to search for password. So you can also run some of the automated tool like linpiece or linenum. So the tool will also search for password. So this is all about password hunting or password on file. So I will see you in my next video. Bye. Hello and welcome back to new section. In this section we are going to see new topic about escalation via SSH keys. So what is SSH keys? So SSH key is the authentication method that we can use in SSH. This will allow the user to log into the server without entering the password. I know this concept is a little bit confusing for you. So for that, to demonstrate, here on my side I am running two different servers. I am running our TryHackMe room, which is server 2. I am deploying the server 2, and I also running another Ubuntu server on my VirtualBox, which is right here. So I am running two different servers on my side. So you don't need to set up all of this. I'm just doing this to demonstrate you. Just watch this video and familiar with this topic. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to this server and let's see what happens. To connect to this server, the command is really simple. We all know that the command is ssh user at, and we need to paste the IP. Let me copy this and paste it here. Hit enter. Once I hit enter, it's asking whether we need to continue this. Just type yes, and once I type yes, it will ask for the password. If I type the correct password, which is password 321, this will log in. So this will take some time. Let's wait. Now we have successfully logged in. So this is how basically SSH works. So we all know that, but here I'm running another Ubuntu server. Let's try to connect to this server and let's see what happens. Before that, I need to find out the IP. So if config, so the IP is 192.168.0.131. Let me open new terminal and type ssh user at 192.168.0.131. So let me close this. Actually, I'm going to separate this terminal so that I can explain you how this works. So let me split it horizontally. Okay, now let me connect to this Ubuntu server ssh user at 192.168.0.131. Now look closely. When I hit enter, it will directly log into the server without asking for any password. But previously when I connect to our TryHackMe server, it asks for password. If I type the correct password, it will log in. But when I connect to this Ubuntu server, it don't ask for any credentials, it's directly logged in. So how this happened? This is happening because, as I said, in SSH there is a feature called SSH key pair which will allow the user to log in without the password. Now let me show you how I configure this Ubuntu server for this scenario. First, if you want to set up something like this, first you need to generate an SSH key pair. To generate the key pair, you need to type the command ssh-keygen and -t RSA. So ssh-keygen is the command that will generate a key pair, and -t is type, and the type of the key that we want is RSA. So when I hit enter, it will generate a public and a private key, and it asking where to save the file. So this is the default directory where it stored the keys. So let me make it default. And next it's asking for password. Let me leave it blank. And now we have successfully generated the key. The key will stored on .ssh folder, cd.ssh ls. We can see it right here. So we got two files, idrsa and idrsa.pub. So the idrsa is the private key which should not be shared to anyone. So please don't share this key. This is something sensitive. And next we got idrsa.pub, which is the public key. Now what we need to do is we need to copy the content of this file. So let me type cat idrsa.pub and hit enter. Now what we need to do is we need to copy this, and now you need to move on to the server that you want to log in without the password. So I'm going to configure this setup on my Ubuntu server. Before that, let me log in again to this Ubuntu server. So ssh user at 192.168.0.131. Now you can see now it's asking for password because I just changed my keys. So now it's asking for password. So password 321. On that Ubuntu server, you need to navigate to .ssh folder. In this folder, you need to create a file called authorized keys. Make sure the spelling is correct. Once you created the file, you need to open it using nano. And you need to paste the content that you copied from the public key. Let me remove the old content and paste it here. Press Ctrl X and type Y, hit enter. Now everything is done. You need to restart the SSH service, and once everything is done, now whenever you log into the server, it won't ask password. Let's try it. So ssh user at 192.168.0.131, and when I hit enter, it will directly log into the server without asking for any credentials. At the background, it will check whether the private key and the public key matches or not. If the both key were matched, then it will log in. If the both key were not matched, then it will ask for password. So this is how it works. So this is one of the features that we can use with SSH. So SSH key pair is easy to set up, but this can also be vulnerable. Sometimes the key that you generated is leaked somewhere, or the keys have bad permission, which can lead to privilege escalation. In next video, we are going to see how to exploit this if the key is misconfigured. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye. In previous video, we have seen about SSH key pair, how it's work and what is the usage and so on. In this video, we are going to see how to exploit it. So the first step is we need to search for SSH keys. In real time, what happened, sometimes the key that user generated get logged somewhere on the system while doing backup, or even some users have a bad habit of storing sensitive files. So we're gonna search for the keys. So you can search it manually or using some commands or automated tools. It's up to you. But I'm going to show you some commands that will search for SSH keys. So these two commands will help you for searching SSH keys. Before that, I'm running server 2. Make sure you also running server 2, not server 1. And I already log into it via SSH. Now let's try to execute this command. So this command will search for file named as authorized key. So the find is the command that we are using, and slash is the path that we are going to search. If you want to specify any specific directory, then you can specify it here. If you just type slash, then it will search in the entire directory. And hyphen name is the name of the file, and the file that we want to search is authorized key. And we're providing this so that we don't see any error. Let's hit enter and see if this command is able to find anything named as authorized keys. So this will take some time, so let's wait. As you can see, we don't see any result, so fine. Let's try another command. So this command is also same, but instead of this file name, we are searching for ID or SA, which is the private key. So let me hit enter. And cool, super. So this command find a file named as IDRSA. Previously I said that IDRSA is sensitive file which should not be shared or leaked anywhere, but now you can see the find command is able to identify IDRSA. Now what we can do with this file? Well, you can use the file to log in via SSH, but we don't know this keys belongs to who. Maybe this keys belongs to a normal user or maybe root user. We cannot judge by seeing the key. Now what we are going to do, we just blindly use the IDRSA that we got against the root user. Let's see if it is work. So to do that, you need to copy the content of the IDRSA file. So let's see if we have read permission for this file. So cat and paste it and hit enter. And now you can see we can able to read the file. Now just copy the whole thing. And open new terminal. And create a file named as IDRSA. And just paste the content here. And press Ctrl X and Y. Hit enter. Now you need to change the permission for this file. Type sudo chmod 600 IDRSA, which is the file name. Hit enter and enter the password. Now we have successfully changed the permission. Now we need to run this. Against the root user. So for that, type sudo ssh -i. And we need to specify the file that we create, which is IDRSA. And this time we need to log in as root. So type root @ and paste the IP. So let me copy the IP. Paste it here. And now look closely when I hit enter. Now once I hit enter, it will directly log into the server as root user. To confirm this, if I type who am I, you can see we are root. So we just exploit the machine and gain root access. So this is how you can utilize SSH keys to gain root access. So that's all about this video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to new section. In this section we are going to see about kernel exploit. So before that, let me give you the introduction for kernel in this video. So let's start. So what is a kernel? The kernel is a computer program that controls everything on that system, or a kernel is a bridge between software and the hardware of the system. Next, let's see the types of kernel. The first one is monolithic kernel, hybrid, XNU, micro, XO and the nano kernel. So these are the types of kernel available, but the top 3 kernel is used nowadays. Now let's see who uses these types of kernel. First, Microsoft. So Microsoft Windows uses hybrid kernel, Also, Microsoft called this as Windows NT kernel. Next, Linux. Linux uses a monolithic kernel. We all know Linux is based on open source, so Linux is an open source operating system. But there is also paid version of Linux like Red Hat Linux, but mostly Linux operating system is open source. And one thing about monolithic kernel is it is also open source, which means you can download the source code of monolithic kernel and you can edit it however you want it. So these both are open source. The next one is Mac. So Mac uses XNU kernel and the XNU kernel is owned by Mac. So you cannot use XNU kernel on Android, Linux or Windows because it's designed to only work on Mac. So you cannot use it on any other platform. Next, Android. Android is also based on Linux, so it is also using monolithic kernel. So you can think of kernel as a translator between your system hardware and your system application. So this is the overview for kernel. So if you want to learn more about kernel, I will leave the link in the resources. You can check it out if you want to learn more about kernel. Next, let's see what is a kernel exploit. So the kernel exploit exists for a variety of Linux kernel version. A very well-known example is Dirty Cow. So I will share you this link in the resources so you can check it out. So you can see these are the varieties of kernel exploit available. You can see full Nelson, half Nelson and overlay FS. These are some of the famous exploit, but the one we are looking for is Dirty Cow, but the Dirty Cow is not in this list. We will cover it in the next video. So I also want to share with you something like a warning message for kernel exploit. Like, kernel exploit can cause system instability, so use caution when running this against a production system. So what it means? Well, you cannot use kernel exploit against your target simply just by downloading any exploit available on the internet, because when you run a wrong exploit against your target, sometimes it can crash the whole operating system. So I'm not saying that you cannot use kernel exploit. You can use it. Since for this course we are using a vulnerable server, in this case this is not a problem, but in real time this can get into the trouble. So be aware when running kernel exploit. So this is an overview of kernel and the kernel exploits. So in next video we are going to see kernel exploit in practical. In previous video we have seen about introduction of kernel exploit. In this video let's see it in practical. So the first step of kernel exploit is you need to identify the version number of the kernel. You can do that with the command uname -a. So this will show you the kernel information. So now we got the version number 2.6.32. So the next step is you need to search for exploit using this version. Now here where you need to invest your time on searching for the correct exploit. So there are many ways to search for exploit. I will show you some of the common ways. First, you can go to this website exploittv.com and you can see the search bar right here. Enter the version number and you can see we got some of the output that are related to our version number. Now you need to click on this one by one and you need to verify it if this is a correct exploit that you are looking for. If you prefer the offline version, there is an offline version of this website. There is a tool called Searchploit. If I type Searchploit, you can see what are the options that we can use, but you can simply run this tool by typing the tool name and the version number. And you can see we got the same output that we got from this website. So this is one of the method. Next, you can use Google to search for exploit. So let me copy the whole thing. And paste it here, type exploit, hit enter, and here we got some of the output. So this is how you can manually search for kernel exploit. But now I will show you one of the easiest method to search for exploit using an automated tool called Linux Exploit Suggester. First, you need to download this tool. Since TryHackMe Room don't have internet access, you cannot directly download this tool. But what you can do is first you can download this tool on your machine and you can transfer it to here. But to save your time, this tool is pre-installed in the server, so you don't need to download anything. If I type ls you can see a folder called tools. So let me move on to that directory. If I type ls again, you can see the tool is here, Linux Expert Suggester. So let me navigate to the directory, type ls, and here is the script that we need to run. To run the script, type / and specify the file name. So once I hit enter, this tool will automatically get your kernel version number and it search for exploit through its database and show you the output. So let me hit enter. And now we got the output. Let's analyze the output. So we can see we got lots of exploit. So it not means these all exploit will work. So some might work, but some might not work. You need to verify it. But the one we are looking for is something called as dirty cow. Yeah, here it is. So if you don't know what is dirty cow, let me give you the introduction of dirty cow. Dirty cow was a vulnerability in Linux kernel. It allowed process to write to read-only files. This exploit made use of race condition that lived inside the kernel function, which handled the copy on write feature of memory mappings. An example use case include overwriting a user UID in hc_passwd file to gain root privileges. Dirty cow is listed in the common vulnerabilities and exposure as CVE 2016-5195. So not all version of kernel is vulnerable to dirty cow. So the computer still uses the older version below 4.8.3 is vulnerable to dirty cow exploit. So if we see here, if I type uname-a again, you can see our version is below 4.8.3. So we can confirm that our server is vulnerable to dirty cow exploit. So now we have identified the exploit. So the next step is exploitation. Now we need to download the exploit and execute it. So I will share this link in the resources. So here it is. So I will share this link in the resources. And here is the dirty cow exploit that are available. The one we are going to use is cowroot.c. So let me click on it. And here is the exploit that you need to download. So once you download, you need to compile it and you need to run it. And this exploit is pre-installed in this server. If I type, so let me type cd. And let me move on to the tools directory, ls. And here is the exploit that we need to run, dirty cow. So let me navigate to the directory. And here is the file. So first we need to compile this file. So to compile, type gcc and the file name and type -o, which is the output. You can give any name. So let me type cowroot. So you can give any name and you need to add the option -pthread. Hit enter. If I type ls again, you can see a new file. So you can see we got new file. So here is the file that we need to run. To run this, type /cowroot. Hit enter. Now this could take some time. So let's wait for a minute. So I have waited for around 5 to 10 minutes. So now it's done. So even though we run the exploit, but still we are the normal user, we are not the root user. If I type who am I, you can see we are the normal user, we are not the root user. If we see here, it says it's backupping the user bin passwd to temp/back. So let's see if there is any file created as back in temp directory. So if I type ls/tmp, and it have actually created a backup file. Now see what happened when I type passwd. See, we are the root user. When I type passwd, we have successfully exploited the shell and gained root access. So if I type who am I, you can see we are the root. So now we have successfully exploited this machine. For the confirmation, let's find the flag.txt file. And here is the flag.txt, and if I hit enter, you can see we have exploited. So the kernel exploit is not like you need to follow my exact step that I show you. So it depends on what kernel version number is your target using, and you need to use different types of exploit for different version number. And this is all about kernel exploit. I'll see you in my next video. Hello and welcome back to a new section. In this section we are going to see about escalation via Linux file permission. What are Linux file permissions? In Linux, file permissions, attributes and ownership control the access level that the system processes and users have to the file. This ensures that only authorized users and processes can access specific files and directories. So this is a high overview of what is a Linux file permission is. Now let's get into deeper. You can refer to this image. So this is how a Linux file permission looks like. So there are 10 bits in file permission. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are totally 10 bits. So the first bit determines the file type. If the first bit is set to hyphen, then it's a file. If the first bit is set to D, then it's a directory. So the next 3 bit is ownership permission. So the owner of this file have read and write permission. So R stands for readable, W stands for write, and X, if you see the X right here, then it's an executable permission. So the next 3 bit is groups. So the groups have only read permission, and the last 3 bit is others. So others means anyone with this file only have read permission. Now let's see what the permissions are and what is the meaning for the permissions. So the first one is read. So the read permissions allow you to open and read the content of a file, but you cannot do any editing or modifications in the file. So the next one is write. The write permissions allow you to edit, remove or rename a file. For example, if a file is present in a directory and write permission is set on the file but not on the directory, then you can edit the content of the file but cannot remove or rename it. So this is what a write permission is. And the next one is executable permission. In Unix type system, you cannot run or execute a program unless execute permission is set. So this permission is only available on Linux, but there is no such permissions available on Windows. So this is all about Linux file permission. Now let's see some examples. So I have already logged into our server. So for this section, we are going to use server 1. So make sure you connect to server 1 via SSH. If I type ls, this will list what are the files and directories available. If I want to see the permission for this file, I need to type ls-la and I need to specify the file name, which is myvpn.ovpn. If I hit enter, this will list the file. So there are 10 bits as you can see. So the first bit determines the file type. If it is set to hyphen, then it's a file. We know this is a file, this is not a directory. And the next 3 bit is ownership permission. So the owner of this file have read and write permission. And the next 3 bit is groups, and the last 3 bit is others, which is anyone. Now let's see the permission for this tools directory as well. You can type ls-la. This will list the permission for all the files and the directory, and you can see the permission right here. So the first bit is set to D. So which means it's a directory, this is not a file, and the owner of this file have read, write, executable permission. And the next 3 bit is groups. So groups have read and execute permission, so groups don't have write permission. And the last 3 bit is others, so others have read and execute permission. So this is all about Linux file permission. In next video, we are going to see how to exploit a file if the file have bad permission to gain root access. So I will see you in my next video. Bye. In this video, we are going to see how to exploit passwd file to gain root access. First, what is passwd file? In Linux, there is a file called passwd. It's located in etc folder. This file contains some users information like username, user ID and so on. Now let's see how the file looks like. So to see the file, you can type cat etc/passwd. As I said, this file is located in the etc folder. Now hit enter. So this is how the file looks like. You can see the usernames and the user ID, but nothing more than that. But if this file have bad permission, this can lead to privilege escalation. Let's see the file permissions as well. If I type ls-la /etc passwd, and once I hit enter, here we can see the permissions. If you look closely, the owner of this file have read and the write permissions, so there is no problem. If you see the last 3 bit, it's set to read and write permission, so anyone with this file have read and write permission, which means we can modify the file content, but this should not be happen at real time. With this permission, we can confirm that this is vulnerable to privilege escalation. Now let's see how to exploit this file. First, we need to generate a password using OpenSSL program. So the command is OpenSSL passwd, and you can type any password that you want. So let me type 12345, and once I hit enter, this will generate a value. You need to copy this, and now you open the passwd file using nano. Now you need to remove the X symbol under the root user. So find the root user and just remove the X symbol right here and paste the value that you copy. Once you paste it, save the file. Now you need to log in as root. So type su root, and now it will ask for the password, and the password is 12345 that we generated. So 12345. And once I hit enter, see, we are the root user. To confirm this, if I type who am I, so we are root. So we have successfully exploited the machine. You can see it's as simple as that to exploit passwd file. So whenever you are doing privilege escalation, check whether the passwd file have read and write permission. If it is, then follow the step that I show in this video. So to prevent this, only root user have permission to modify the passwd file. Other than that, no one should have permission. This is all about this video. Thank you for watching. In this video, we are going to see about exploiting shadow file. So what is shadow file? In Linux, there is a file called shadow. It's located in etc folder. This file contains encrypted user password, and also it stores the actual encrypted password for everything on your system. Let's see the file permission first. Usually only root user have read and write permission to this file. Other than the root user, no one have access to read or write the file. So first let's see the file permission. So ls-la/etc/shadow, hit enter. You can see we have read and write permission for anyone, which means we can read the file and also we can able to modify the file. So let's see how the file looks like. Cat etc/shadow. You can see the username and the hashed password. We cannot read the password in plain text because this password is hashed. So just by seeing the hash, we can identify that this password is hashed using SHA-512 algorithm. How I know this? Because if you see the $6, it indicates that it's a SHA-512 algorithm. If you're not sure what type of hash is this, then you can use some tools like hash identifier to find the hash. Now we got read and write permission for the shadow file, and also we know the hash format is SHA-512. With this information, we can confirm that this is vulnerable to privilege escalation. Now let's see how to exploit this file. First, we need to generate a hashed password with SHA-512 algorithm like the one we previously generated, but this time we are going to use different program. Once we created the hash, we are going to replace the hash with the current password. So let's see how we can do that. First, open new terminal and type mkpasswd and type -m and specify the algorithm, which is SHA-512, and type any password that you want. So to keep it simple, let me type test12345, hit enter. This will generate the hash. Now you need to copy this and go back to the server, and now you need to open the shadow file using nano. So type nano /etc/shadow, hit enter. Now you need to remove the hash in the root user. So remove the hash first. So go all the way to the first colon and remove. So you need to remove until the $sign and paste it here. Now everything is done. Press Ctrl X and Y, hit enter. So we have saved the file. Now you need to log in as root. So type su root, hit enter. It will ask for password, and the password that I generated is test12345. When I hit enter, I have logged in as root. So if I type who am I, see, we are root. We have successfully exploited the machine. So to prevent this, as I told in the previous video, only root user have permission to read this file or modify this file. Other than the root user, no one should have permission. So this is all about this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to new section. In this section, we are going to see a new topic about bypassing sudo rights. Now, what is sudo? In Linux and other Unix-like operating system, sudo is often used to allow users to run command with elevated privileges. By default, regular users in Linux don't have the ability to perform administrative tasks such as modifying system setting or installing software. Sudo provides a way for authorized users to temporarily escalate their privileges to perform these tasks. However, sudo can also be a vector for privilege escalation if it's not properly configured. If an attacker is able to gain access to a user account with sudo privileges, they may be able to abuse those privileges to escalate their access to the system. For example, an attacker might use a vulnerability in the sudo configuration to run a command with even higher privileges than were intended. So this is just the introduction video of this section, but we are going to see different types of techniques to bypass sudo and get root access. So stay tuned and I will see you in my next video. Bye. It's great to be back with another video. In this video, I'll be showing you about sudo shell escaping. In a moment, you will understand what a shell escaping is. Before that, for this section, we are going to use server 1. So I have already connected to it. So here it is. First, what I'm going to do, I'm going to execute sudo-l command. What this command will do, it will list all the binaries that the user can run with sudo permission. So let me hit enter. As you can see, we got a list of binaries that we can run with sudo permission. Now what I mean by sudo permission, whenever I run any of this binary that listed here with sudo, it won't ask for password. For example, if I run the nano command with sudo, let's see what happened. So sudo nano. As you can see, it won't ask for password. It will directly execute the program as root. So let me exit out of it. But here is another example. If I open new terminal in my Kali machine and execute the same command sudo nano, and when I hit enter, you can see it's asking for password because in my Kali machine this user don't have sudo permission for nano, so that's why it's asking for password. So I hope you understand what a sudo permission is. Now coming back to the topic. Now what can we do with these binaries? Since we can run any of this command with sudo permission, now we just need to find a way to exploit the shell. So to make life easier, we are going to use a website called GTFObin. So here it is. GTFObin is a curated list of Unix binaries that can be used to bypass local security restriction in misconfigured system. So GTFObin is one of the useful resources when it's come to privilege escalation. So I strongly recommend you to check this out. You can see there are lots of binaries available, but you can also search whatever you want in the search bar. Now we need to choose any one of these binaries that are listed here and search it on GTFObin. For example, I'm going to choose find. So let me go to the website and search for find, and here it is. And you can see there are different types of command available. So if you want to just get a normal shell using find, then you can use this command. But we are looking for root shell, so just skip this. Next, the command is available for SUID, so we will see what is SUID in different section. And at the bottom you can see sudo, and this is what we are looking for. So just copy this command and paste it here and execute it. Once I hit enter, you can see I got a shell. If I type who am I, see, we are root. So we don't do anything complex. We execute the sudo -l command, and this command gives list of binaries, and we choose any one command and search it on GTFO bin, and we just copy the command and execute it here, and we got a root shell. So that's all we have done. And let's see another example. So let me exit out of it. Instead of find, this time let's use vim. So let me go back and search for vim, and here it is. And instead of clicking here, you can also directly click on sudo, because sudo is what we are looking for. And here is the command, so just copy this and execute it here. So hit enter, and we got a shell. If I type who am I, and see, we are root. And also make note, not all binaries are available in GTFO bin. For example, if you see this list, there is Apache 2, but if I search it on GTFO bin, so Apache 2, it says no binaries matches. So not all binaries are available in GTFO bin, so keep in mind. So this is all about this video. Thank you for watching. In previous video, we covered a basic method to bypass sudo. In this video, let's see an advanced method for bypassing sudo. First, I'm going to execute sudo -l command. We know what this command will do. It will list all the binaries that the user can run with sudo permission. But if you analyze this result, there is something interesting in this output, which is ld preload right here. As you can see, the ld preload variable is being called by env keep. Basically, what happening is it just loading the shared libraries that stored in ld preload. Now let's see what a shared library is. Shared libraries are the most common ways to manage dependencies on Linux systems. These shared resources are loaded into memory before the application starts, and when several processes require the same libraries, it will be loaded only once on the system. This feature saves on memory usage by the application. In simple term, library is pre-compiled code that can be reused in any program. And also, shared libraries usually end with .so extension, which is the short form of shared object. Now let's see some examples about shared object. So in Linux, there is a command called ldd. What this command will do, it will print the shared object required by each program, and here is the usage. First, we need to type the command and we need to specify the binary. So let me exit out of it. And for example, if I type ldd bin/ls, if I hit enter, it will list all the shared objects that required by this ls binary. This will list all the shared objects that are required by this ls command. Let's see another example. So ldd bin/sudo, and these are the shared objects that are required by sudo. And if you notice, all file have .so extension, which stands for shared object. And also, if you notice, all binaries have similar shared object. If you see linux vdso.so, you can also see it right here. And if you see libc.so, and you can also see it right here. So almost all binaries have similar shared object. So that's why the code is reusable. So I hope you understand. Now coming back to the topic. First, what we are going to do, we are going to create a malicious library. And since we have sudo permission, we can specify the path of the malicious library that we created to ld preload. Once we do that, we are going to execute any one command that have sudo permission. Once we execute the command, the malicious library will run before the command so that we will get a root shell. If you don't understand what I'm saying, don't worry, now we will see it in practical. As I said, first we are going to create a malicious library. For that, I'm going to navigate to the tmp directory, and I'm going to type nano shell.c. So you can give any name, but make sure the extension is .c, and hit enter. Next, I will share this code in the resources so you can check this out. So I'm going to copy and paste, and I will explain to you. First, we are including the libraries that are required. So we are importing standard input output and sys types and the standard library. Next, we are doing the void init, and first we are unsetting the environment variable, which is LD preload, and we are setting the group ID to 0 and also the user ID to 0. Once we do that, next we are executing the command, which is bin sh. Once this line is executed, we will get a root shell. So let me save this file, and if I type ls, here is the file. Now we need to compile this file. So for that, command is already given below. Just copy this and paste it here. Make sure the file name is correct. So hit enter, ls, and here is the file shell.so. So while executing this command, if you see any error message, just ignore those errors. Now we got the file. The next step is we need to specify the path of this file to LD preload. So for that, type sudo LD preload equal to, next we need to specify the path. So this file is stored in the tmp directory. So type /tmp/shell.so, and everything is done. Now we need to give any one command that have sudo permission. So I'm going to choose nano. So type nano, and once I hit enter, you can see we got a shell. If I type who am I, and we are root. If I type ID, so we are the root user. So we have successfully exploited this shell. I know this topic is a little bit confusing for you, but this is really easy. If you don't understand, just watch this video again and again, and still if you have any doubt, you can post it in Q&A section. I will respond to you as soon as possible. So thank you. In this video, let's see a CVE that was released on 2019. CVE 2019-14-28-7 is a security vulnerability that affects the sudo command, which is a program that allows a user to run command with the privilege of another user, usually the root user. This vulnerability was discovered in October 2019 by Joe Winix from Apple Information Security. The vulnerability exists in the way sudo checks user permissions when running commands with the run as option. In particular, when a user with sudo privileges runs a command with the run as option to execute it as a different user, sudo does not properly parse the user ID of the specified user. This can allow an attacker with access to a user account with sudo privileges to bypass the intended restriction and execute the arbitrary command as the root user. Now, if you are a Linux user, you will know what is the run as option is, but if you don't know what is run as, I will give you a small introduction about what is run as is. Run as is an option in the sudo command that allows a user to run a command with privilege of another user. When the run as option is used, the user executing the command is required to provide the username or user ID of the target user as an argument. This command is then executed with the permissions of the specified user. For example, if a user have sudo privileges and want to run a command as the root user, they can use the run as option like this. So here is the sample command. So first we need to type sudo -u, which stands for user. Next we need to give the username, and next we need to give any command that we need to execute. Once we do that, it will run the command with the privileges of the specified user. I hope now you understand what is run as is. Now let's see the documentation of the CVE. I will share this link in the resources so you can check this out. If I scroll down, we got some information about the CVE like the release date and the author name and the sudo version, which is below 1.8.28, and this bug is fixed in the same version. If I scroll down, here we got the description. First, the author of this vulnerability executes sudo-l command, and this is the output he got. If you see the output, you can see exclamation root, which means not the root user. So if you see the exclamation symbol and root, it means not the root user. So user hacker cannot run bin bash as root because of this. User hacker sudo privilege in the etc file. So this is how user hacker look like in the sudoers file. You can see user hacker does not have root access for the bin bash. With all specified, user hacker can run the binary bin bash as any user. And here is the exploit code. What we need to do, we just need to execute this command, which is sudo -u #-1 and bin bash. Once we do that, we will become the root user. So how this happen? Sudo does not check for the existence of the specified user ID and execute with arbitrary user ID. So that when we execute this command, it returns as 0, which is the root's ID. So to exploit this vulnerability, an attacker would need to have access to a user account with sudo privileges and be able to run command with the run as option. They would then modify the user ID in the command to an invalid value such as -1 or any random number, which could be interpreted as the ID of the root user. Now let's work out this vulnerability in practical. To practice this vulnerability, there is a room available in TryHackMe. So the name of the room is sudo security bypass, and I will also share this link in the resources. So if you scroll down, you can see a start button to start this machine. So click on this button, and once you got the IP, just scroll down and you can see the command. So just copy this and open your terminal and connect to it. And here is the credential. The username is TryHackMe and the password is also TryHackMe. So I have already connected to it. Make sure you also connected to TryHackMe VPN. So I have connected to the both. So here is the server. First, what I'm going to do, I'm going to type who am I. So we are TryHackMe. So I'm going to execute sudo-l, and this is the output that we got. You can see we got the exclamation root, which means we are not the root user for this bin bash, which means we cannot run bin bash as the root user. So how we are going to exploit this with the help of this command, which is right here. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it here and hit enter, and see we have become the root user. If I type who am I, we are the root user. Now you may have a question. The root user UID is 0, but why we are typing -1? What I mean is, if I type cat etc/passwd, you can see that the root user ID is 0, but why we are typing -1? So the reason for that is, in Unix based system, the root user is typically assigned a UID of 0. When a user with sudo privileges runs a command with a run as option, the sudo command is supposed to verify that specified target user is a valid user and has appropriate permission. However, due to this vulnerability, if an attacker specifies an invalid UID such as -1 or any random number, the sudo command interprets it as a large unsigned integer and maps it to the UID of the root user, which is the ID of 0. If you type -0 instead of -1 in the run as option, the sudo command will treat it as a valid UID value and will attempt to execute the command with the privilege of the user with UID 0, which is typically the root user. So that's why we are typing -1. So I hope you understand this vulnerability. So it's really easy to exploit this, but it's also very dangerous. So I hope you understand. If you have any doubt, you can post it in Q&A section. I will respond to you as soon as possible. So I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Thank you. In this video, again we are going to see a CVE that was released on 2019. So this CVE was discovered by Joe Winix, the same guy who brought the security bypass vulnerability which we saw in the previous video. So this CVE is related to buffer overflow attack, and it have been patched, but still it's affect the sudo version which is below 1.8.26. So they have given you a detailed description, but I directly go to this image. If you see this image, there is something called PW feedback. So what is PW feedback? PW feedback is an option in some Linux password management tools that provides visual feedback to the user when typing a password. Specifically, it displays asterisk or dot as the user type each character of the password, providing an indication of how many characters have been entered. Now let's see an example of what this PW feedback is. If I open my terminal, I'm going to type sudo and something random, and if I hit enter, it will ask for my password. So whenever I type sudo in terminal, it will ask for the password. So I'm going to type my password. So I have entered the password, but you don't see anything on the screen. But if the PW feedback option is enabled, you can able to see what I'm typing on my screen. I mean, you cannot see the exact character that I'm typing, but instead of that, you will see an asterisk character. So that's what PW feedback is doing for us. So when this option is turned on, it's possible to perform buffer overflow attack on the sudo command. So since this CVE is related to buffer overflow attack, I will give you a small introduction of what this buffer overflow is. Before we dive into buffer overflow, let's first understand what a buffer is. A buffer is a temporary storage area in memory that holds data until it's ready to be processed or transferred to another location. Buffers are commonly used in software programs to store user input, network data, and other types of information. Buffer overflow occurs when a program writes more data to a buffer that it can hold. When this happens, the extra data spills over into memory location, potentially overwriting other data and causing the program to behave in unexpected ways. In some cases, this can be exploited by an attacker to execute arbitrary code or gain unauthorized access to a system. So let's take a simple example to illustrate buffer overflow. Suppose we have a program that takes input from the user and store it in a buffer. The buffer can hold a maximum of 8 characters, but the program does not perform any inbound checking to ensure that input does not exceed this limit. Now let's say an attacker enters 10 characters as input. This will cause a buffer overflow, with the extra 2 characters spilling into the memory location and potentially overwriting other data. I hope you understand what this buffer overflow is. Now coming back to the topic. And again, they have given you a detailed description about this, but I will skip all of this and I directly go to the exploitation section. First, to exploit this, first we need to download the exploit code that is given in this GitHub repository. So just click on this. So you can see the exploit.c, and this is the file that we need to download. So once you download, next we need to compile this file using this command. Once you compile, you will see a file named as exploit, and you need to run this file. So to make life easier, they have already downloaded this and compiled this file in the server, so we don't need to download or compile anything. So I have already started this machine, and if I scroll down, here is the command that we need to run. So I'm going to copy this and make sure you have already connected to TryHackMe VPN, and I'm going to open new terminal and paste it here and hit enter. Yes, and the password is given here, which is TryHackMe. And we have successfully logged in. Now let's check what are the other possibilities that we have. So first I'm going to type sudo -l. Let's see if that's work. So it's asking for password, so it doesn't work. And let's see if we can able to read the passwd file. So cat etc/passwd. Okay, that's cool. We can read the passwd file. And what about the sudoers file? So cat etc/sudoers. Hit enter, and it says permission denied, so we don't have access to read the sudoers file. So I'm going to type sudo and something random and hit enter, and it asks for the password, and again I'm going to type something random And as you can see, it's displaying the asterisk character, which means we can confirm that the PW feedback option is enabled. With that said, if I go back, they said that this affects the pseudo version which is below 1.8.26. And if I check this pseudo version of this server, so let me press Ctrl C and type sudo dash capital V, and it says is 1.8.21, which is below this version. Now with this we can confirm that this is vulnerable to buffer overflow attack, and now we need to just execute the exploit code. And as I said, the file is already given here. If I type ls and here is the exploit code, just type /exploit and it's running. It says sorry, try again, but we got a shell. What I'm going to do, I'm going to type who am I, and we are the root user. So we have successfully exploited the machine. So whenever you are doing privilege escalation, don't forget to check out the asterisk character while entering password in Linux. If you found it, then follow the step that I have shown you to verify it. And also, if you found this bug in real server, it's very dangerous because it gives the root access to the server and it should be patched as soon as possible. So I hope you understand. I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to new section. In this section, we are going to see about SUID. So SUID, also known as set user ID, is a special permission that can be set on an executable file or script on Linux systems. When an executable file has the SUID bit is set, it runs with the privileges of the file's owner rather than the user who is executing the file. An example of a program with the SUID bit is set is the passwd command. This command is used to change the password of a user account, but it needs to be run with the root privileges in order to be able to modify the password file. However, allowing users to run the passwd command with the root privileges would be a security risk, as it would give them too much power. To solve this problem, the passwd command is set with the SUID bit so that it can be executed with the root privileges, but only to modify the password file and not to perform any other security operation. Now let's see it in practical. So I'm going to open my terminal and I'm going to type the command passwd and hit enter. Once I type the command, it says changing password for Red Hat. And also I'm going to open new terminal and let's see what's happening at the background. So let's type psaux grep passwd and hit enter. And you can see at the background the passwd command is executing as the root user. Even though I'm not adding the sudo option, it's running as the root user. So how this happen? So this is happening because the passwd file is set with the SUID permission by the root user. So that's why we can able to run passwd command as the root user even though we're not typing the sudo. So let me cancel this first. Let's see the passwd file permission. So ls-la/bin/passwd and hit enter. So this is the file permission for this file. So as you can see, the owner of this file have read, write and the S, which stands for SUID, and the groups have read and execute, and anyone with this file have read and execute. So that when any user run passwd command, it will run it as the root user. So that's why we can able to change the password as any user. And also you can set SUID for any file that you want. So for that, I'm going to create a sample file, nano myprogram.sh, and I'm going to add bin bash and echo hello world and save this file. Now we need to give the executable permission, and if I type ls-la, we got read, write and executable permission. Now to set the SUID bit for this file, you can use the following command, which is chmod u+s and the my program, which is the file name. Now let's see the file permission again. And this time you can see we got the S, which stands for SUID. So this is how you can set SUID bit for any file or any executable that you want. And also there is something called as SGID as well. So SGID stands for set group ID. Is a special permission that can be set on executable file or directory on Linux system. When an executable file has the SGID bit is set, it runs with the privilege of the groups that owns the file, rather than the group of user who is executing the file. So I just want to give you an overview of what is SUID is and how it's work, because we are going to see different types of techniques to exploit SUID binaries. So that's why it's important to know about what is SUID and how it's working. So I hope you understand what is SUID. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Now that we know what is SUID and how it's work, in this video let's see how to identify and exploit SUID binaries. For this section we are going to use server 1, so I have already connected to it. So to find SUID binaries we can use the following command. Type find /perm, which stands for permission, and the permission we are looking for is SUID and the type is file. Next we are going to pass this into dev/null. Now when you add this option, it will redirect any error message to the null device, such as permission denied errors. Now when you run this command, it will search the entire file system starting from the root directory that have SUID bit is set. Now hit enter. As you can see, we got list of binaries, but not all these binaries are useful for us because not all are exploitable. But the one that should not be in this list is Nano, because we know that Nano is a terminal based text editor. If we have SUID bit set for Nano, then we can able to edit some sensitive file and gain root access. First, let's check the file permission for Nano. So ls-la/bin/nano, and as you can see, Nano have SUID bit set and it's owned by root. So whenever we run Nano, it will run as the root. So before exploiting, I'm going to try sudo su command, and it's asking for password. So I know the password for this user, which is password 321. So once I type the password, it says this user is not allowed to execute bin/su. So that's what we are going to do. So with the help of Nano, we are going to edit the sudoers file where we are going to give this user the root permission, so that this user can run anything as root. So for that, we need to type nano/etc/sudoers and hit enter. Normally we don't have access to read and write this file. Since we have SUID permission for Nano, it will run as root. Now go down to the user privilege specification and add your username. In this case, our username is user, and copy the configuration of the root user and paste it here. So I will just type it. Now everything is done. Now just save the file, press Ctrl X, Y and hit enter. Now we have successfully saved the file. Again type sudo su and hit enter, and it's asking for password. Now again I'm going to type the same password, password 321 and hit enter. Now I have become the root user. So this is one of the technique used to gain root access, but the problem with this technique is you need to know the password of the current user. If you don't know the password, then this will not work for you. So the technique that I show only work if you know the password of the current user. So to solve this, we can use Nano to edit some other files like passwd or shadow file. In file permission section, I have shown you how to exploit passwd and shadow file if those files have write permission. But in real time, even if you don't have write permission for passwd file, you can still use Nano to edit those files if Nano have SUID permission set. So let's see it in practical. First, let's see the file permission for passwd. So ls/la/etc/passwd, As you can see, we have write permission, but in real time you don't have write permission. So let's make that scenario. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the write permission from the passwd file. You don't need to do this. I'm just doing this to show you that it's possible to exploit passwd file even though if it doesn't have write permission. So for that, I'm going to change the file permission to 644. So type chmod 644/etc/passwd, and I need to add sudo, hit enter, and password 321. Now we have successfully changed. Again, let's try to see the file permission, and now we don't have write permission. Now let's try to exploit this file. Again, I'm going to do the same thing that I shown you in my file permission section. So type nano/etc/passwd, and now we need to generate a password using OpenSSL program. So for that, open new terminal, type OpenSSL passwd and type any password that you want. So I'm just going to keep it 12345 and hit enter. Copy this and remove the X and paste it here and save the file. Now everything is done. Just type su root and now type the password. So the password is 12345, and now we have become the root user. You can also do the same thing for shadow file as well. Just go back to the file permission section where I show you how to exploit shadow file. So you can use the same method with nano to exploit shadow file. So that's all about this video. Thank you. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to cover shared object injection. It's kind of complex topic as I mentioned it now. So you need to have a deep looking and understanding at everything that I show you in this video. So let's get started. I hope you know what a shared object is. I have explained it in my previous section where we exploit LD preload. So I just share my slide with you right here. So before we going further to exploiting, I want to share you a methodology or a step-by-step process that we are going to follow in this video. So here is the step-by-step process for exploiting shared object injection. The first step is identifying a vulnerable process. The first step is we are going to identify a vulnerable process. This could be any process that runs with elevated privileges or loads shared object libraries in an unsafe manner. Step 2 is creating a malicious shared object library. Once we identified the vulnerable process, then we need to create a malicious library that can be loaded into the process. Here where we need to create a code that performs a privilege escalation, such as elevating the attacker's privileges to root. And the next step is injecting the shared object library. Once we create malicious shared object library, then we need to inject it into the vulnerable process. And the final step is, once we inject our malicious program, the final step is to execute the code. So let's get started with the first step where we need to identify the vulnerable process. Now we are on to our SSH machine. I'm going to run the same command that I used to find SUID binaries. So I'm just going to paste it, hit enter, and we got list of binaries. With this information, again we can search it on GTFO-pin to see whether it's vulnerable or not. So to make it easy, the one we are looking for is this one, SUID-SO. In real time, it's kind of challenging for you to discover shared object injection. You cannot easily identify it, but don't worry, going through this video, you will get an idea of how you can discover it. Now let's see what this thing is doing. So I'm just going to copy this and run it here. It says calculating something, please wait. So there is no more information. We are just blank right now. And also we don't know what's happening at the background. So for that, we can use a tool called strace. Strace is a powerful diagnostic and debugging tool used in Linux. So we are going to use this tool to see what's happening at the background. So let's try. Type strace and paste the binary. And I'm going to pass this into something like this.
and hit enter. And you can see this time we got more information. So let's move all the way to the top and let's see what we got here. And we can see something like access, open, close, and we can also see it's trying to access some of the files, and there is also no such file or directory. But still it's hard to understand what's happening at the background. You can see the output is a little bit messy. It's really hard to go through. So instead of printing all the things, I'm just going to grep the useful line. So let's make it cleaner. Again, I'm going to type the same command, but this time I'm going to add grep -i -caps E. Let's search for something like open, access, no such file. I think it's more than enough, so hit enter. Now it's little bit readable compared to the previous one. So let's see the first line. It says access etc acyd debug and no such file or directory. So what's happening at the background, it's trying to access some of the files, but there is no such file or directory, which means the file or folder does not exist. So let's try it manually. I'm going to copy this and type ls-la and paste it, hit enter, and you can see it says no such file or directory. So what about this one? Let's try it. And no such file or directory. And at the last line there is something like home user.config libcalc.so. So let's try this. And still it says no such file or directory. But what about the .config? Let's also try that. And still the same error, no such file or directory. So just by seeing this, I can say that at the background it's trying to access some of the files, but there is no such file or directory. So what we are going to do, we are going to inject our own file in this directory. We're gonna replace the libcalc.so with our own malicious library. So why I choose this directory? Why we cannot do it here or here? Why I choose this? The reason for that is really simple. We don't have write access to etc folder, which means we cannot create a file or folder inside the etc folder, but we do have read and write access for home user. Because this folder belongs to our user, we can clearly see that we have access to create a file in this directory. So that's the reason I'm choosing this. Now we have identified the vulnerable process. So this is how in real time you need to search for. If you have any binaries, you need to go through it one by one and see what that particular binary is doing. And you can also use the strace tool that I show you to see what's happening at the background and check if it's access any files, whether we can inject our own file or not. Basically, this is how you need to hunt for shared object injection. Now let's move on to the next step where we need to create a malicious library. So for that, we need to navigate to this directory. If I type pwd, and you can see we already onto the home user, so no need. Now we just need to create a folder called .config. So type mkdir.config and navigate to the directory cd.config. And now we need to create a file named as libcalc.c. So nano libcalc.c, hit enter. I will share this code in the resources so you can download it. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here, and I will also explain it. This is really a simple C code. First we are including the required library. So we are including standard input output, and also standard library. Next we are doing a void inject, and inside that we are defining a system function. Inside that we are running the system command. So this is also a simple command. We are just copying the bin bash executable to the temp bash, and we are setting the SUID bit for temp bash. And finally, we are executing the temp bash in a privileged mode so that we will get a root shell. I'm just going to save this, Ctrl X and Y, hit enter. Now we have saved the file. Now we need to compile this file. For that, type gcc dash shared dash fpic. Now we need to provide the file libcal.c and type -o, which is output, and output is libcal.so. Hit enter and ls, and this is the file. Now we can remove this file, rm libcal.c, and now we have removed the file, and also we have successfully injected our own malicious file in this directory. Now the final step is we need to run this. So to run this, we just need to execute the binary. So /user local bin suid so. Now when I hit enter, at the background it will try to access different types of file. When it's come to this line, it will execute the libcalc.so. Once it's execute, we will get a root shell. So that's what going to happen. I'm just going to hit enter. It says calculating something, please wait. But this time we also got a shell. If I type who am I, and we have become the root user. Now we have successfully elevated our privileges. I know this topic is hard for you. I make this video as easy as I can, and also I recommend you to watch this video twice or more so that you will get familiar with shared object injection. So that's all about this video. Still, if you have any doubt, you can post it in Q&A section. I will respond to you as soon as possible. So thank you for watching. Thank you. In this video, we are going to see a CVE that was released on 2016. This CVE allows local attackers on Debian based system to escalate their privileges from Nginx web server user, which is www data, to the root user through unsafe error log handling. What is Nginx? Nginx is a popular open source web server and also a reverse proxy server. If you don't know what is www data, www data is the user account that web servers like Apache and Nginx use by default for their normal operation. So whenever you compromise a web server, you will log in as www data. You may encounter this while doing CTF. Now you know this CVE is not only depends on SUID, there is also part of Nginx. So this video is going to be a combination of Nginx and SUID. But we mainly focus on Nginx. There is only small part of SUID in this video. As I said, when we compromise a web server, we come in as www data user. So let's create that scenario. I'm going to manually log in as www data. So for that, I need to make a connection to the server. So let me copy the IP. SSH. So I'm going to log in as the root user. Hit enter. And the password is password123. And type su www data. And if I type who am I, now we are www data user. So let me clear my screen. Now let's see what's the issue with this vulnerability. So for that, let's take a look at the log file generated by Nginx. I'm going to type ls-la/var log nginx and hit enter. So this is the location where the log files are stored, and here you can see we have read-write executable permission for this directory, and also it's owned by www data user. Now you may guess what's the problem is. The vulnerability arises due to the fact that the log directory and files created by Nginx are owned by www data user. If a local attacker gains access to the system through a vulnerability in a web application running on Nginx or the server itself, they can replace the log file with a symlink to a malicious file. If you don't know what is symlink, in Linux, a symlink or symbolic link is a special types of file that act as a pointer or reference to another file or directory. Basically, it provides a way to create a shortcut or alias to a target file. Now, if you take a look at this directory, now here where symlink comes into play. So we are going to replace the log file with a malicious file with the help of symlink. By replacing the log file with a symlink, when Nginx is restarted, the logs will be written to the file pointed by the symlink, This allows the attacker to escalate their privileges to root, as the logs are typically written with root permission. But whatever I said, we are not going to do all this manually. The exploit is going to do automatically for us. So to this to work, we need two things. The first one is vulnerable version of Nginx, which is 1.6.2 or older than that. And also we need to have SUID bit set for sudo. So let's start with identifying the vulnerable Nginx version. For that, we can run Linux exploit suggester to find it. So let me navigate to the tools directory, cd home user tools, and here is the file. And now we just need to run it. Hit enter, and at last you can see CVE 2016-1247 nginx root.sh. This is what we are looking for, and you can also see the affected version. So to identify it manually, you can run dpkg -l grep nginx and you can see Nginx 1.6.2, which seems to be vulnerable. So we have the vulnerable version of Nginx. And what about SUID? So I'm going to run the same command that we used to find SUID binaries. So find /perm/u is equal to s, and type is file, and I'm going to add one more option to this, -ls, and we can pass this into dev/null. So the same command that we ran previously. So hit enter, and you can see we have SUID permission for sudo. So now we have the vulnerable Nginx version and also SUID permission for sudo. With this set, we can escalate our privileges to root. Now how we are going to do this? As I said, we are just going to run the exploit. The exploit is going to do everything automatically for us. I will share the link to download the exploit, but it's already downloaded in the server. You can find it in the tools folder. So cd.ls, and here is the file nginx. So cd nginx, and here is the exploit that we need to run. So just type // and the file name, and next we need to specify the path of error.log file, which stored in var log nginx error.log. Hit enter. Now let's see what this exploit is doing. First, it's starting the exploit as www.data-user. Next, it's compiling the previous shared library, which is the malicious file, and it's installing the backdoor at the tmp directory. Next, it says this server appears to be vulnerable, so there is a writable log directory. So we saw that. So we have read-write executable permission for var log nginx. So it's creating a symlink pointed to this. And next it says waiting for Nginx service to be restart by log rotate called from cron daily at 6:25 AM. So what is this? So for this to happen, Nginx service need to be restarted. There is a script in Linux which will do it automatically. It's stored in etc logrotate.t nginx. So the log rotation script is called daily by cron daily on default Ubuntu or Debian installation at 6:25 AM every day. So that's what mentioned here. So if the log rotation script have been set to rotate logs daily, then attacker would gain root privileges within 24 hours upon the next log rotation without any system admin interaction. But still in real time you need to wait until the script executed or any changes happen by the admin. But for now, to keep it simple, I'm going to manually trigger the log rotation. So for that, I need to make a new connection to the server. So SSH, and let me paste the IP. Password 123. So to trigger the log rotation file, you can type invoke rc.t nginx rotate, and we can pass this into dev/null and hit enter. So it says reopening nginx log files, and if I go back, we can see nginx restarted. Now this file got created with the web server privileges, and it's adding the malicious file to this one. Now this file contains the malicious file, and next it says escalating privileges via user bin sudo. So that's why I said that we need to have suid permission for sudo. And finally we got the root shell. So let's try who am I, and we are the root user. So we have successfully elevated our privileges to root. This topic is also a little bit complicated as the previous one. Again, I recommend you to watch this video again, and also I will share the documentation of the CVE. You can check out that as well. So to prevent this attack, use the latest version of Nginx, and also make sure the log directory and the log files used by Nginx have appropriate permission, and also restrict the write access to only necessary users or groups. So that's all about this video. Still, if you have any doubt, you can post it in Q&A section, and thank you for watching. Thank you. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we will cover environment variables. Escalation via environment variables generally involves manipulating the environment variable to gain root privileges. In Linux, environment variables are dynamic values that are part of the operating system. They are used to store information such as system configuration setting, user preferences, and data that various programs and processes can access. So the best example that I can show you now is the env command. So if I type env, you can see we got output. So this is nothing but when you type env, it will list all the environment variables and the values. For example, if you see there is a variable called shell, and this is the value bin bash, and also we got user and the username is user. We got home, log name, SSH, and there is also something called path. So path is one of the important one. Path is where system search for executable file when a command is entered in the shell. Each directory listed in this path is searched in the order specified until the command is found and executed. For example, if you type ls command in terminal, at the background it will go through these paths one by one to see where the file is stored. Now let's see a practical example for environment variable. Let's say I have a script called myscript.sh which is located in my home directory. You can see it right here. So if I type cat myscript.sh, so this is the content of this file, and if I run this, so /myscript.sh, so it will just say hello, this is my script. So the problem is whenever I want to run the script, first I need to navigate to this directory and I need to run this, but I want to execute it from anywhere on the system without specifying the full path. How can I do that? It's really simple. To do that, we need to just export the path environment variable. So type export path equal to and $home. So that's the directory where the file is stored, and we're going to export this to path. So path and close this, hit enter. Now everything is done. We have successfully exported the path. Now if I move on to desktop directory and if I type ls, you can see there is no such file as myscript.sh, but if I type myscript.sh, see, still the file get executed. So this is an example for environment variable. So I'm showing this example because I think it makes sense going through this video, so that's the reason. Now coming back to the topic, as usual we're gonna use the same command that we used to find SUID binaries. So I'm just going to paste it here and hit enter. And again you need to go through this one by one, but for this video we are going to use these two, SUID env and env2. So for this video we just focus on this one. So I'm just going to copy this and run it here, and let's see what happened. So when I run this, it says starting web server Apache to HTTPD. So that's what we have. So there is no more information.
So what we can do, we can use strings command to see what's happening at the background and paste it here. So strings command is used to extract printable characters from a binary file. So hit enter and we got some output, but not all these are useful for us. At the bottom you can see something like service Apache to start. So this command is used to start Apache to server. So that's why it's saying starting web server. Now what we can do with this information? Well, if you remember at the beginning of this video, I have said that when you type a command in a terminal, at the background it will go through this path one by one to see where the file is stored. So what happened when the service command get executed? For example, when I type service, at the background it will go through this path one by one. So first it will check on user local bin. If it does not exist, then it will move on to the next one and next one until it's find it and execute it. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a malicious file named as service. Then we export the malicious file location to the path environment variable. Once we do that, when we execute the binary, first it will execute the malicious file that we created. I think it may be a little bit confusing for you, so let's see it in action. First I will move on to the tmp directory and I'm going to create a file called service.c nano service.c. hit enter. Next I will share this code in the resources, so you can just copy this and paste it here. So this is really a simple code, so I have already explained it. So we are just setting the group ID to 0 and user ID to 0 and we are executing bin bash. Once it get executed, we will get a root shell. So save this and here is the file. Now we need to compile this file. Type gcc service.c and output is service and hit enter. And now we got the compiled file. Now we need to export this file to the path environment variable. So for that, type export path equal to /tmp. So tmp is the directory where the malicious file is stored and we are going to export this to path. So type $path and hit enter. Now we have successfully exported the path. So to confirm this, again you can type env and you can see there is a new path added /tmp. Now the final step is we need to execute the binary, so which is user local bin suid env. And once I hit enter, see I have become the root user. If I type who am I, we are root. So when we run this binary, we have become the root user. So what happened at the background? So if I scroll up and you can see right here, when we run this binary, at the background it executes service Apache to start. When service get executed, it will go through the path environment variable to see where it's stored. So we have exported the tmp directory in the path environment variable. So and this is the directory where the malicious C file located. So when we run this binary, when the service command get executed, it will execute the malicious file that we exported instead of executing the original one. So that's why we have become the root user. So that's all about this video. Still there is one more binary left. So we will see how to exploit that in next video. Thank you for watching. Thank you. So this video is the continuation of the previous video. There is one more binary left to exploit. So previously we saw how to exploit this. In this video, let's see how to exploit this one. So I suggest you to pause this video now and try to exploit this on your own. I will give you a small hint. This is something to deal with shell function. So give it a try and see if you can exploit this or not. If you don't know, just continue the video. First, as usual, we're gonna run this binary to see what happened. So let's run this. And the same output we got starting web server. And let's use strings. Hit enter. and we got some output. At the very bottom we can see user has been service Apache to start. So previously it just ran service Apache to start, but this time it's calling the direct path, which means it's calling the full path of service. So how we are going to exploit this? So as I mentioned earlier, this is something to deal with shell function. In Linux, a shell function is a block of code that can be executed within a shell session or script. So to understand it better, let's see a simple example for shell function. So I'm going to open my terminal, and here I'm going to create a function called program. So something like this. So I'm going to create a function called program, and inside that I run a simple code. So I'm just type echo hello world, hit enter. Now when I run this program, this code will execute it. If I type program, see, it says hello world. I know it may not make sense, but instead of running echo, you can run any Linux command with a logic function. You can also do automation using this. So basically we created a shell function named as program, and inside that we run a simple command, and once I run this function, the block of code get executed. So that's what you need to understand. So we are going to use the same method for exploitation. So that's why I'm showing this example. Now coming back to the topic. So what we are going to do? So we are going to create a malicious shell function named as user has been service. So type function user has been service. So something like this, and inside that I'm going to open curly braces, and here type cp. So we are going to copy bin bash to tmp, and then we are going to set syd permission for temp bash. Type chmod plus s tmp bash, and then finally we are going to run temp bash in a privileged mode. Type /tmp/bash -p. So that's all. So this is the command. So hit enter, and now we have created a malicious shell function. Once this block of code get executed, we will get a root shell. Now we need to export the shell function. Type export -f and specify the function name user has been service, and hit enter. Now we have exported it successfully. Now we need to run the binary. So let me copy this and paste it here. And once I hit enter, see, we have become root user. ID and root, who am I? So we have successfully exploited the machine. So I hope you understand. Still, if you have any doubt, you can post it in Q&A section, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to new section. In this section, let's talk about capabilities. What is capabilities? Before this, normally in Linux, the root user has full access and control over the system, including all privileges and permissions. Basically, when we run sudo, we have full control over the system. So to address this issue, Linux capabilities comes into play. Capabilities provides a mechanism to grant specific privileges to processes without requiring them to run with full root access. This means that processes can be allocated only the necessary privileges they need to carry out for a specific task, rather than running with unrestricted root privileges all the time. And also, with Linux capabilities, it is possible to split and distribute privileges across processes, ensuring that each process has only the permission required to perform its intended function. So this helps to a more secure and stable system overall. Now let's see how to hunt for capabilities. Previously we used find command to hunt for SUID binaries. Same like that, there is also a command to hunt for capabilities. So I have already connected to the server, and also for this section we are going to use server 2. Make sure you have deploy server 2, and I have already connected to it. So the command to hunt for capability is get cap and /-r, and we can pass this to dev/null and hit enter. So this will take some time, depends on the system speed. So let's wait. And we got the output. If you analyze the output, so these are the file that capability have been set. And we can see we have Python, Perl, PHP, Ruby, and also we have Vim. So we will see how to exploit this in next video. But for now, I just want you to take a look at this. So basically this is how you need to hunt for capabilities. You can see the permission. It says cap set UID plus EP. So E stands for effective and P for permitted. Basically it says permit everything. So there are different types of permissions in capabilities. If possible, I will give you some resources for capabilities. You can check out that as well. And also one more thing, the find command that we previously ran will not be able to show you the capabilities, but still you can use find command to hunt for capabilities. So let me show you the command. So let me paste it. So here is the find command to hunt for capabilities. So let me hit enter and let's wait. And here we go. We got the same output as the previous one. So you can use either this command or this one to find capabilities. And also one more thing, don't get confused with SUID and capabilities. The differences between both is, first of all, both are not same, but both involves in providing privileges to processes. They operate in different ways and serve different purpose. So that's the difference between SUID and capabilities. And in next video, we will see how to exploit this to gain root privileges. So I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Now that we know what is capability is and how to hunt for capabilities, in this video, let's see how to exploit capabilities and elevate our privileges to root. So previously we run this command and here is the output that we got. If you take a look at this output, we got different programs. We got Python, Perl, PHP and Ruby. But in real time when you run this command, not all this program will list it for you. Maybe there is one or two in this list. But I will show you how to exploit all this so that it will help you in different scenario. And exploiting capability is simple and straightforward. For this, we are going to use GTFO bins. First, let's see how to exploit it using Python. And I'm going to open GTFO bin and search for Python. And you can see Python is available. So the function that we are going to use is capabilities. So click on capabilities. And here is the command that we need to run. So just copy this. So do not copy the entire line, just copy until here, because we need to change the path. So go back to the server and type user bin Python. So that's the location where it's stored. So you can run it with version number or without version number, so it will work. So I'm just going to type Python 3 and paste it here. Hit enter and you can see we got a shell. If I type who am I, and we are the root user. So we have successfully exploited the machine. Let me exit out of it. This time let's use Perl. So I'm going to GTFO bin and search for Perl. And Perl is also available. Click on capabilities and copy the command. And again type user bin Perl and paste it here. Hit enter. Who am I? And we are the root user. And what about PHP? Let's also try that. So PHP, so capabilities, and here is the command that we need to run. And if you want to exploit it using PHP, then it's a little bit different. So copy this and again type user bin PHP and paste it here. And this time inside this we need to give any command. So remove this. So you can run any Linux command, but for now we need to get the root shell. So type /bin bash hit enter, and we got the root shell. Who am I? We are root. And finally there is Ruby. Let's also try that. So let me exit out of it and go back to GTFO bin, search for Ruby and capabilities, and here is the command. So copy this, type user bin Ruby and paste it here. So let me run it one more time. Hit enter, and we got the shell and we are the root user. So we have exploited the machine. So not only this, still there are many more programs that are setted with capabilities. So what I suggest you, whatever you see in this list, just directly go to GTFO bin and search for it. If it is available, then give it a try. So that's all about this video. As I said, exploiting capability is simple and straightforward. So I will also share some resources related to capabilities in the resources file. You can check out that as well. And still, if you have any doubt, you can post it in Q&A section. I will respond to you as soon as possible. So thank you for watching. Thank you. Welcome back to new section. In this section, let's talk about NFS. What is NFS? NFS stands for Network File System. It enables file sharing between computers in a network, allowing users to access and share files seamlessly across different systems. NFS operates on the client-server model, where an NFS server exports directories and make them available to NFS clients. The clients can then mount these remote directories onto their local file system, giving them the ability to read, write, and manage files on the NFS server as if they were local files. I know these terms are new for you, like mounting directories onto our local system. Don't worry, while exploiting, you know what these are. Just for now, simply imagine you have a home network with multiple computers and you want to share files between them. So that's what basically NFS will do for you. With NFS, one computer acts as the NFS server and share its files and directories. The other computers on the network are NFS client, so those clients can access the shared files. So that's what basically NFS. So going through this section, you will know what is NFS is and how to exploit it. So I will see you in my next video. Before getting into exploitation, we need to know how to identify vulnerable NFS. Before that, first we need to know whether NFS is installed or not in our target server. For that, we can run a simple nmap scan. So I have already run the command and I got the output. So I ran a simple nmap scan. So nmap-sv, which stands for version detection, and I have specified the IP address of the target server. And also for this section, we are going to use server 1. So make sure you deploy server 1, and I have already connected to it. So let's see the output. If you see this output, in this list, there is NFS, which stands for Network File System. With this, we can confirm that NFS is installed on the target server. So we just identify it, but we don't know whether it's vulnerable or not. For that, we can run show mount -e and the IP address. So show mount command is used to retrieve mount information from the NFS server. So hit enter. If there is any NFS share, then it will be listed here. You can see there is one NFS share available /tmp. If I go back to the server and type cat etc/exports, so this is where the NFS configurations are stored. So hit enter, and you can see there is one NFS share available, and what we are looking for is right here, no root squash. When root squash is disabled, I mean when you see this option, it means it allows a root user on a remote computer to access everything on the NFS server that is available. In this case, we have no root squash. It means when an attacker gains access to the server,
he can able to mount this directory onto their local machine, and they do whatever they want, like creating a file, delete file, or changing file permission and so on. So we will see how to do that in next video, but for now we know how to hunt for vulnerable NFS share. And also one more thing, if you see here it says no root squash. So when root squash is disabled, then you will see this option. If root squash is enabled, then you will just see root squash. If you just see root squash, then it's not vulnerable to this attack. So you need to have no root squash. So that's all about this video. In next video, we will see how to exploit this. So thank you for watching. Thank you. Now that we know what is NFS and how to identify vulnerable NFS share, in this video we are going to see how to exploit it. First, let me navigate to this directory cd/tmp ls. So here we got two files, so that's okay. So there are different ways to exploit vulnerable NFS share, but in this video I will show you the simple one. For that, first we are going to copy bin bash to this location, and I will explain why I'm doing that. So cp bin bash /, hit enter, and ls, and here we got the file. If I run this binary, we will get a normal bash shell. We all know that. Let's also see the file permission, ls-la, and you can see here is the permission for this file. So if you take a look at here, the ownership of this file is user, the group is also user, and owner of this file have read, write, execute, and group and anyone also have read and execute. So let me run this file /bash. So as I said, we will get a normal bash shell, but we don't need this shell, we need a root shell, right? So for that, what we are going to do, we need to make some changes in this permission. So we need to change the ownership of this file to the root user, and also we need to give SUID permission for this file. But the problem is we cannot do it here, because if I want to change the ownership or if I want to give the SUID permission, I need to use the sudo command. And you know, if we use sudo command, then it will ask for the password. In this case, we don't know the password. So how we are going to do this? With the help of no root squash, we are going to mount this directory onto our local machine. Once we mount this directory onto our local machine, then we can able to modify the file permission however we want. Once we modify the file permission, then we can able to run this file as the root user. Now let's see it in practical. Let me open new terminal, and here I'm going to create a directory called NFS in my TMP directory. So you can name it whatever you want. And inside this directory, we are going to mount the TMP directory, which is the vulnerable share. So type mount -o rw and -t, type is NFS, and we need to give the IP address. So let me copy the IP. And next we need to give the vulnerable share, which is /tmp. And finally we need to give the location to mount this directory. So /tmp/nfs, and hit enter. So you need to add sudo and enter the password. And when you enter this command, it should work for you. In some cases you will see this error message. If you see this message, then you need to add one more option to it, which is right here. So you need to add verse equal to 2, hit enter. Still, if it is say the version not supported, then you need to change it to 3, hit enter, and that should work for you. So it's working for me, and yeah, it's worked for me. If still it doesn't work for you, then change this 3 to 4. It should work for you. Now I'm going to list the file located in the vulnerable share. So ls/tmp/nfs, and hit enter. And you can see we got some file.
So these are not my file. So these are the file located in the target server. So you can see it right here. And now we need to change the file permission. For that, first let's change the ownership of the file to root. So for that, type sudo chown root.root /tmp/nfs/bash. So that's the location of this file. Hit enter. And now we need to give the suid permission for this file. Type sudo chmod +s/tmp/nfs/bash. Hit enter. Now everything is done. Let me move on to the target server. And again, if I type ls-la, now you can see this file is highlighted. And if you take a look at here, now the ownership of this file is root, and also we have the suid permission. With this set, we can run this file as root. So type /bash, and you need to add one more option, which is -p. Now when you add this option, it will execute the file as the user who owned the file. In this case, it's the root user. So hit enter. And we got a shell. If I type who am I, and we are the root user. We have successfully exploited the server. So thank you for watching. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to new section. In this section, we are going to talk about LXD. So there are two things, LXD and LXC. First, let's see what is LXC is. So LXC stands for Linux containers. LXC is a technology that allows you to create and manage lightweight isolated environment on Linux system. These environments are called containers and act like a mini virtual machine running application in a separate space. In other hand, LXD is a management tool and user-friendly interface built on top of the LXC. It provides a more convenient way to work with containers and add extra feature for making container management easier and more efficient. In short, LXC is a core technology for creating containers, while LXD is a user-friendly tool that simplifies managing those containers. You can also call LXD as a container manager, so it allows you to run Linux container. So basically, Linux containers are lightweight form of virtualization that allows you to run multiple instance or container on a single host machine. Each container shares the host operating system kernel but maintain its own file system, processors, and network stack, ensuring isolation from other containers and the host system. And also, it is an open source project that provides a high level API and user-friendly command line interface for managing system containers. If you still don't understand what is LXD and LXC are, now I will give you a simple example. Simply imagine you have a computer with a specific operating system installed on it, such as Windows or Mac OS. With LXD, you can create additional mini computers within your main computer, each with its own operating system like Linux. These computers are called containers. Now you may think it like a VirtualBox or VMware. That's right, but compared to VirtualBox or VMware, LXD is lightweight because it only utilizes less resources, give you the high performance. So not only the performance, so there are so many advantages in using LXD. If possible, I will share you some resources related to LXD, so you can go there and check it out. So to keep it simple, LXD is a new type of virtualization technology. So thank you for watching. Thank you. Now you have a basic understanding of LXD. In this video, let's talk about how an attacker utilizes LXD to gain root privileges. To exploit this vulnerability, an attacker would need to have access to a user account that belongs to the LXD group on the host system. The LXD group is typically created during the installation of LXD and is used to grant access to certain LXD functionality. Once the attacker has access to an LXD group member account, they could use a specially crafted attack to manipulate the Unix socket credential and make the LXD daemon believe that the user has root privileges. As a result, the LXD daemon would execute the command with elevated privileges, effectively escalating the attacker access to the root level on the host system. As I say, to this to work, our user need to be part of the LXD group. So to check that, type groups. So for this section, we are going to use server 2. So make sure you connect it to this server. And if I go back, so once you type groups, you can see the output. There is something called LXD. So this is what we are looking for. So as a member of the LXD group, you will likely have a certain permission and privileges related to managing and interacting with LXD containers. So there is a chance that we could possibly elevate our privileges to root. Automated tools like linpiece will also be able to identify it and show to you. So you can also use linpiece to find it. So simply you can run groups to see whether our user is part of LXD or not. Now we know our user is part of the LXD group, and next we need to create a container. So to create a container, we need to download a tool called LXD Alpine Builder. So here is the tool. The problem is we cannot download this tool directly onto our server because our server don't have direct internet access. So for that, what we are going to do, we are going to download this tool on our Kali machine, then we are going to transfer it to our target server. I think I have already shown you how to do this, so no problem, I will do it again because there is something that we need to change. So first I will download this tool on my Kali machine. So copy the code and let me move on to the TMP directory and git clone, hit enter and navigate to that folder, cd LXD Alpine Builder, hit enter, ls, and here is the script that we need to run, sudo // and the file name, hit enter, and wait for a minute. And now everything is done. If I type ls, and here is the file that we need. So now we need to transfer this file to our target server. So for that, I'm going to start a simple HTTP server using Python. So this is the command, hit enter and go back to the server. And here I will navigate to TMP directory and type wget http : and we need to copy the IP address of tunnel 0. So if config, so copy the IP of tunnel 0, don't copy the WLAN 0 or any other interface, copy the tunnel 0 IP. So copy this, paste it here and type / and now we need to give the file name, so we can copy it here and paste it here, hit enter, and the file is downloading. If I type ls, so here is the file. Now we have successfully downloaded the file, and in next video we will see how to exploit this. Previously we download LXD Alpine Builder required for this attack. In this video we'll see how to exploit it. First thing that we need to run is LXD init. When you run this, it will initialize and configure LXD on the system. So hit enter. And when you run this, it will ask for a couple of options. So just hit enter for all those. So let's make it default. And now it's done. Next we need to import the Alpine image that we download. So type lxe image import, and we need to give the name of the file, which is this. So Alpine. So press the tab button to autocomplete and add --ls and give it a name. So I will give it root. So you can give any name, hit enter. And it says image imported. For the confirmation, we can type lxe image list and here is the image that we imported. Next, we need to create a container using the Alpine image that we imported. So for that, type lxc init root, and we need to create a container. So I'm going to call it as root container. So you can call it anything you want, and add -c. -c is for configuration, and we are going to add security dot privileged equal to true. So we are just adding security dot privileged is equal to true. When security dot privileged is set to true for a container, it means the container will run with elevated privileges similar to the root user on the host machine. Hit enter and it says creating container. So let's wait. Again type lxc list, and here is the container that we created, and also you can see it's not started yet, it's stopped. The next step is we need to mount the directory that we need onto the container file system. So for that, type lxc config device add. So we need to add the container that we created, it's root container, and give a name for the disk. So I'm going to give data disk and add disk. So you can give any name here. So this indicates that the type of the device being added is a disk. So next we need to give the source. So source equal to, now if you want to just mount the root directory, you can type /root, but in case if you want to mount the whole file system, then you just need to add /. So I want to mount the whole file system, so I will just type / and type path. Now here we need to specify the path to mount the file system. So I'm going to mount it in mnt/root and add recursive equal to true. And when you add this option, it will allows all the files and subdirectories within that directory to be copied into the target path. So hit enter and it says device data disk added to the root container. Finally, we need to start the root container. Type lxc start root container, hit enter. And now we need a shell. So for that, type lxc exec root container, add bin sh, hit enter, and we got a shell. If I type who am I, and we are the root user. Now we need to navigate to the directory that we mount the file system. So cd/mnt/root/root. So we just mount it on /mnt/root, but this is the root directory where the flag.txt is stored. If I type ls, you can see the flag.txt. So cat flag.txt, and we have successfully exploited the machine. And if you want to see other files that we imported, you can type, so you can also see that. So type cd/mnt/root, hit enter, ls. So you can see all the files that we mounted. So here if you type /root, then you can only be able to see the root file, but if you add /, then you can able to see the entire file system. So that's why I add /. So I hope you understand what is LXD and how to exploit it. Still, if you have any doubt, you can post it in Q&A section. So that's all about this video. Thank you for watching. Hello and welcome back to new section. In this section, we are going to see about cron job. So what is cron job? In Linux, a cron job is a time-based task scheduler that allows you to schedule and automate repetitive tasks at specific time. These tasks can be a script, commands, or programs that need to be executed regularly without human interaction. Cron is a daemon, or you can call it as a background process that runs continuously and checks the system cron tab file
to determine if any scheduled task needed to be executed at the current time. You can also see the cron tab. So open your terminal and type cat etc/cron tab. So this is the location where the configurations are stored. Hit enter and this is how it's look like. You can see cron job can run in every minute, every hour, or day of month, and also day of week. And also you can see here there are 4 cron job running at the background. So these are the default one in Linux. So these are not configured by me. And you can see there are 4 cron job running at the background. So it's running hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly. So the first one is running every hour. And you can see the 17 here. The meaning for 17 is it's running 17th minute of every hour by the cron job, and it's running as the root user. You can see it here. So all these cron jobs are running as the root user. And you can see the next one, it's running daily at 6:25 AM by the root user. And the next one is it's running weekly. So it runs every week at 6:47 AM at the 7th day of a week, which is Sunday. And the next one is monthly, and this cron job is running every month at 6:52 AM at the first day of the month. So these are the timing. So if you're not familiar with this, or if you're a little bit confused about this, there is an awesome website called Cron Tab Guru. So you can use this website. So what you can do, simply you can enter this in that search bar. For example, if you want to see at what time this cron job ran, you can simply copy this and go to this website and paste it here. And you can see it says at 6:25. So it runs at 6:25. And also let's check for another one. So let's see what about this, and paste it here. And you can see it says at 6:52 on day of the month 1. So you can use this website. This is one of the awesome website. So now you may have a question. What's the issue with cron job? So never mind about that for now. We will see what's the problem in further video. But for now, I just want you to give you an overview of what is cron job and how it's work. I hope you understand what is cron jobs are. So to simplify, cron jobs are a powerful tool for automating routine tasks such as backups, log rotation, and other administrative tasks in a Linux system. So in next video, we will start exploiting the cron job. So I will see you in my next video. Now you have a basic understanding of what is cron job and how it's work. Now let's get into the exploitation. So first we need to identify what are the cron job running at the background. So for that, we need to see the cron tab file, which located in etc/cron tab. So this is the configuration file, and if I hit enter, so you can see the cron jobs running at the background. And also for this section we are going to use server 1, so make sure you connected to it. So we know what these are. So these are the default one running in Linux, but if you see here, there are 2 more things new in the server. So override.sh and also compress.sh. And you can also see it's running by the root user. And you can also see 5 asterisk character. If you don't know the timing of this, you can just copy this and go to the Cron Tab Guru and paste it here. So the 5 asterisk is at every minute. So basically what happened, this file right here, so these both file right here executing every minute as the root user. Now we just focus on this one. Later we see how to exploit this. So first let's see how to exploit this. Now we don't know where this file is stored, so there is no path to this file, so we need to identify it manually. So we can use find command to find it. So find /-name override.sh, and we can pass this to dev/null. Hit enter, and it's located in user local bin. So let me navigate to the directory cd user local bin, and here is the file. So both the files are stored in the same directory. And now let's see the file permission, lsla override.sh, and you can see we have read and write permission for this file,
which means we can able to read the file content, and also we can also modify the file content. So let's see the file content first. Cat override.sh, and it says bin bash echo date tmp useless, so it's not look interesting for us. So what we can do, since this file have read write permission and also it's executing at the background as the root user at every minute, we can able to modify the file content, which means we can inject something malicious in this file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to inject a reverse shell here, and once this file get executed, we will get a reverse connection on our Kali machine. So let's see how to do it. So there are different methods to do it, but I will show you the reverse shell method. So for this we can use pentest monkey, so you can see different types of reverse shell. So let's use bash. So I'm going to type nano override.sh and we can comment it, and here let me paste it. Now we need to change the port number and also IP address. Let me change the port to something random, 4656, and now we need to change the IP address to the 10.0 IP, which is right here, if config. So here it is, copy this and paste it here, save this file. Now we need to listen on that port in our Kali machine, nc-lnbp 4656, hit enter. Now we need to wait until the file get executed at the background, so let's wait. And as you can see, as soon as this file got executed at the background, the reverse shell also get executed, so we got a reverse shell right here. Now if I type who am I, and we are the root user, so we can navigate to the root directory to find the flag.txt. So here it is, cat flag.txt, and we have successfully exploited the machine. So thank you for watching. Thank you. Previously we saw how to exploit this file, but in some cases we don't have read-write access to this file. In that particular scenario, you need to take different action. Now here where path environment variables comes into play. I think I have already explained you what is path environment variable in SUID section. So here's the path environment variable, and what happened when this file get executed, since there is no direct path to this file, it will go through these paths one by one to find it and execute it. So what happened, first it will check it on home user. If it does not exist, and it will move on to the next one and next one until it's find it and execute it. So what we are going to do, we are going to manually clone this file in home user directory, because the home user is the first path in this list. So what we are going to do, we are going to clone this file in this directory, and we are going to inject something malicious into it. So let's see it. First let me move on to this directory, so cd pwd, so we are already in that directory. Now let's do echo, and I'm going to copy bin bash to temp bash, and we are going to give SUID permission to that file, so +s tmp/bash, and we are going to put it in override.sh. I'm creating a new file called override.sh, so make sure the spelling is correct. If it is wrong, then it will not work for you, and hit enter. And now we need to give executable permission for this file, chmod +x override.sh, and if I type ls-la override.sh, and you can see we have executable permission. Now what we need to do, we just need to wait until the file get executed. So what happened, when this file get executed, it will go to the first path, and here we created a dummy override.sh file, so it will think it's a real file and it will execute it. Once it's execute the file, this command right here will get executed, and in the tmp directory there will be a bash file. So let's check cd/tmp ls,
and you can see the file got created. It means the file got executed at the background. Now to run this file, type /bash and add -p, hit enter, and we got a shell. Who am I? And we are the root user. So we have successfully exploited the machine. Finally, you can see the flag.txt, cat flag.txt. So we have successfully exploited the machine. So this is what path environment variables are. So thank you for watching. Now we are on the last video of this section, and still there is one more binary left to exploit. In this video, let's see how to exploit it. First, let me navigate to the directory cd/user local bin, and here is the file. First, let's see the file permission for compress.sh, and for this file we have only read permission, so we don't have write permission. So first, let's see the file content, cat compress.sh, and you can see it says bin bash and cd home user. Finally, it's running a tar command. It's look like it's backupping something, so never mind about that, but it's running a tar command. I hope you know what is tar command. Tar command is used to archive or extract the archive file on Linux system, and at the last you can see there is an asterisk character, and this is what we call wildcard in Linux. So in this video we are going to talk about wildcard injection. In a moment you will know what is a wildcard injection is. Before that, first let me show you an example. Let me navigate to my home directory, and here I'm going to create a file called sample. So I'm going to do echo hello world, and I'm going to put it in sample, and I'm going to create another file. So echo hello world, and I'm going to call it as --help. So I'm going to create a file called sample and --help. So hit enter, and here we got to file sample and --help. First, let's see the content of the sample file, cat sample, and it says hello world. And what about --help? So if I type cat --help, it should print hello world, but see what happened. Cat --help, as you can see, when we type cat --help, it shouldn't print hello world. Instead of that, it's printing the help option for the cat command. So what happened, when I type cat --help, the cat command treat it as a command line argument for the cat command. Now using the same method, we are going to exploit the tar command running on the cron job. I think this example makes sense going through this video, but for now we just directly get into the exploitation section. So let me clear my screen, and first let me type the command and explain to you. So these are the commands that I ran. Now I will explain what this command will do. First, I'm creating a file called demo.sh, and inside that file I'm running an echo command which will basically add this line to the sudoers file, and the meaning for this line is this user can run anything as the super user without specifying the password. And next I'm adding a checkpoint action for the tar command which will basically execute the shell script, which is demo.sh. So this is the command line argument for the tar command. So you can also see it. So open your terminal and type tar --help, and if you scroll up you can see it right here. So this is the command line argument for the tar command. And next I'm giving another checkpoint equal to 1, so it will basically display progress message every numbered record. This is also the command line argument, so you can see it right here. Finally, I am giving executable permission for demo.sh. Now overall, what this command will do, when the compress.sh script get executed at the background, the tar command will treat it as like a command line argument for the tar command.
and once this get executed, the demo.sh file will get executed, and this line will add it to the sudoers file, and then we can able to run anything as the super user without entering the password. Now what you need to do, you need to wait for a minute until the compress.sh file get executed. So let's wait. Now I have waited for a minute. Now let's type sudo -l to see the file permission, and now you can see we can able to run anything as the root user without entering the password. So to get the root shell, we can simply type sudo su, and we are the root user. So we have successfully exploited the machine. So to get the flag, so you can go to cd/root get flag.txt. So we have successfully exploited the machine. So this is how wildcard injection work. So I hope you understand about wildcard injection and how to exploit it. Still, if you have any doubts, you can post it in Q&A section. So thank you for watching.